Julia James took her dog out, as she had done many times before. She took her normal route through a peaceful village in the English countryside. She walked along a quiet, familiar path. Nothing felt unusual. But somewhere along that woodland path, a predator was waiting. What happened to her will become one of the largest investigations in Kent police history. Thousands of hours of footage viewed, over 1,000 officers involved in this case, which also left the community in despair. It was a case that would raise disturbing questions about planning, intent, and how danger can hide in the most ordinary of places. Tonight we examine the timeline, the evidence, and the courtroom revelations behind a crime that shocked the UK. This is the case of Julia James. It was an ordinary spring evening in the English countryside on the 27th of April 2021 in the quiet village of Aylesham, Kent. 53-year-old police community support officer Julia James stepped out for a routine walk with her dog Toby, a walk that she knew well. As an officer with the Kent Police, she worked closely with the public, building trust, offering reassurance, and acting as a visible presence in her community. Colleagues described her as warm, committed, and deeply respected. She was also a mother, a friend, and someone who believed in serving the community. On that Tuesday evening, she walked along a quiet, familiar path through Ackholt Woods, close to her home. Hours passed, but she never returned home. Concern quickly grew, as she wouldn't normally be out too long. A search for Julia began, and David Gilly describes the moment he found Julia's body. After Mr. Gilly and his wife set off from home, they found Julia's dog Toby. David then discovered Mrs. James's body lying in a nearby field. Julia had suffered fatal head injuries caused by a heavy blunt object. It was immediately clear that what had happened to her was not an accident. A full-scale murder investigation was launched. The whole community was aware that the person responsible was still nearby and possibly someone from their own community. Aylesham is not a large village, it's a small, tight-knit community, and news travels fast. The idea that such a violent act could happen in broad daylight on a popular local walking path left residents terrified. The Kent Police responded with urgency, and by nightfall, the peaceful woodland path was the centre of a horrific crime scene. Over 1,100 officers would eventually be involved in the investigation. Around 5,000 homes were visited during extensive house-to-house inquiries. CCTV footage, doorbell cameras, dash cams, every possible angle was explored. The investigation was led by the Kent and Essex Serious Crime Squad. Their mission was clear: identify the individual responsible, stop them from harming anyone else, and bring them to justice. As witness statements were collected, a pattern soon began to form, and following police appeals, approximately 1,400 people came forward with information. Investigators reviewed hours and hours of CCTV, dashcam and doorbell footage. One photograph taken by a member of the public would later prove crucial. That came from a local gamekeeper who provided both a photograph and footage of a man acting suspiciously in the area. He was carrying a bag that would later be forensically linked to the weapon. This breakthrough caused the investigators to focus their attention on 22-year-old local man Callum Wheeler. Wheeler lived in Aylesham, not too far from the scene, and as detectives began building a timeline, they uncovered some troubling details. One of the most significant pieces of evidence came from modern technology. Julia had been wearing a smartwatch during her walk. That device recorded her final moments, her route, her speed, and their heart rate data. It helped investigators reconstruct her final moments with precision. Meanwhile, forensic teams conducted detailed examinations which revealed that some of Wheeler's DNA was found on items of clothing belonging to Julia. Wheeler was quickly arrested at his home in Sunshine Avenue. During the search, the team made a discovery that would solidify the case. A railway jack handle was found inside Wheeler's bedroom. It had been wrapped in plastic bags and leaned against the wall. After being forensically recovered, subsequent testing revealed both his and Julia's DNA present on the object. Investigators also identified traces of Julia's blood on shoes recovered from Wheeler's home. As the search began, officers seized his laptop. Analysis of this device revealed online searches relating to the case. Although Wheeler initially denied involvement, investigators believed the forensic and digital trail was quite damning, and it also painted a clear picture of events. The case was heard at Canterbury Crown Court. Prosecutors told the court that Wheeler had left his home carrying the railway tool. It was clear he was familiar with the woodland and surrounding area, and evidence suggested that he had positioned himself along the pathway. Prosecutors also described the attack as a deliberate targeting of a lone woman in an isolated area, something that understandably heightened concerns about women's safety in the community. Wheeler had laid in wait and targeted Julia as she and Toby walked by. The defence tried to challenge elements of intent in order to try and obtain a lesser sentence, but the forensic evidence was difficult to dispute. During the court proceedings, it was revealed that while on remand in prison, Wheeler had made some disturbing comments about the case and showed no remorse for his actions. Investigators later described him as an extremely dangerous individual. While much of the investigation focused on forensic science and digital evidence, the courtroom also revealed more about who Julia was and the impact of her loss. Julia was a mother of two, and in her role as a police community support officer, she had supported victims of domestic abuse, offering guidance and reassurance to vulnerable members of her community. Her commitment to protecting others makes what happened even more heartbreaking. The trial lasted a week, and Callum Wheeler was found guilty. During his sentencing at Canterbury Crown Court, Julia's family addressed the court. Her son describes the man responsible as someone driven by twisted desires, and said his mother's life had been taken while she was doing something completely ordinary, walking her dog. Her husband spoke through tears, describing Julia as his soulmate. He told the court that when she was killed, he felt as though part of him had died too. The emotional weight inside the courtroom was undeniable. Mr. Justice Wall, who presided over the case, made it clear this was not a random act carried out in a sudden moment. In fact, he stated that this was a deliberate ambush. He concluded the attack had been planned and thought out in advance. The judge described the assault as brutal and vicious, and ultimately determined the severity, planning and impact of the crime warranted a life sentence with a minimum term of 37 years. Following conviction, Wheeler was sent to Broadmoor High Security Hospital in Berkshire. Julia's death had a profound effect on Kent Police and the wider community. Chief Constable Alan Pewsley spoke about the devastating loss felt by colleagues and loved ones, and also expressed pride in the teamwork that led to the arrest and conviction, emphasising the role of forensic science, digital evidence and community cooperation. Julia James had every right to feel safe in her own community. Her story is a reminder of how normal everyday life can be disrupted, and how the investigators' hard work is vital in seeking justice. Today, her name is remembered not for the circumstances of her death, but for her dedication to police service and by her family who loved her. Justice does not undo what happened or the loss, but seeking justice matters.